Gentlemen, this is Eddie Marcus again. You know, I want to tell you today about my idea of the New World Order. I remember as a kid, I used to dream and fantasize of a beautiful world, a beautiful society that included the world. And even as far up as a teenager, a young adult, I would envision this New World Order, this beautiful society, this beautiful world. And what it engendered was my compassion for all people. And that compassion for all people was predicated on what I understood as God's compassion for me. And that is life, the pursuit of living to its fullest, experiencing those things of my dream that brought the most happiness to me. And that is what I felt that every individual was entitled to. I believe that God had provided for all of these things to happen. And though they weren't happening at that time, that's the way I thought things should be. I saw every individual smiling. I saw every individual happy in their going and their coming. I saw every individual all over the world living in the kind of homes that they desired, living in the kind of cities and towns and countrysides that they desired. And wherever they lived, it was beautiful. I saw them having transportation as they chose without any hardship, any complications. I saw them having available to them the various types of foods, every last human being on earth. You know, sometimes I've seen pictures where kids were starving, they were skinny, as in third world countries, as I had seen them in India, as I had seen them in Pakistan, as I had seen them in certain parts of China, and I just couldn't imagine that being a part of God's plan. And I wanted to see an end to it. I just envisioned that these things could happen. I envisioned that people would have unlimited, unrestricted education so that they could train themselves and with more knowledge to be the best that they could be. I saw them having unlimited, unrestricted health care. I just saw the world being a place where you just moved forward. Woo! And it was beautiful in my mind. I saw that these things didn't exist. But in my mind, they didn't exist because people didn't understand God the way I did. And so, while I saw a few people who were out there trying to make things better, they themselves didn't see it as lovely as I. Now, you might think, or you don't have to think, but the way that I saw people being able to live in these kinds of cities, these beautiful cities, to live in these beautiful homes, to drive the type of transportation, to utilize the type of transportation, whether cars, trains, planes, boats, or something else. It was because they had been imbued with gifts and talents from the Creator that addressed every little partial of this entity that was required to cause the manifestation of the resources necessary to do those various things. Like I saw people who were responsible for lumber, transportation of lumber, creating cement, transportation of cement, all of the things that is used to build a house, all the things that were used to build a car, to build a train, to build a bus. There was someone who had that gift. And the way that this was going to work so harmoniously is that every individual would be able to have the kind of career they chose. Some would choose football, some would choose basketball, some would choose janitors, some would choose teachers, some would choose to be engineers, and whatever they desired to do, that's what they would do. And the whole of society was there to support them in all that they did. So it wasn't like people was forced in a job that they didn't like. They did exactly what they liked. And this was the motivation, knowing that You were doing what you like to do, and it played a major part in the wonderfulness of not only of your life, but the life of every individual on earth. Woo! I wanted that. I wanted that so bad. And yet I understood that there might be some people on the world who just didn't agree with this and had a different plan. Perhaps a plan similar to the plan that is being experienced all over the country today, especially in the United States of America. And I would ask myself, how would I deal with this? How would I deal with this? And I'd reflect back on my understanding of the Word of God and how it was presented about Jesus. And my love would not see me locking people up in prisons with no real purpose, or executing people for their actions, because I just didn't see God doing this. But in my mind's eye, what I would see is perhaps since the world and all of its populations were protected by this beauty that I just explained, there would perhaps be a section that was set aside, probably like in those biblical days, long time ago, where those people who just wouldn't adjust, those people who just did not want to conform to beauty and peace and prosperity, it was like putting them in exile. And so all of the people who did not want to live where there's peace and prosperity and joy, they wouldn't be forced to. They'd just be put over there with people who wanted to live without laws, without anything that would guide them except their own desires, would be over there. I must admit to you, one day I was thinking about this, and it came to me that perhaps that's why we are on earth. We're not in that paradise, but rather here on earth, because we represent all of those who did not want to conform to the basic principles of heavenliness, who did not want to conform to the principles of paradise, who did not want to conform to the principles of a utopia. And so we were here for a purpose, to do the same thing that the people would do on that island that I would envision them on being, because they didn't want to experience these things. However, being in the place that they are, in all of the crime and violence and hatred that they are immersed in, they would perhaps have a heart change and want to come out of there, want to be delivered from that hell, so as it were. And yet, to do that, they'd have to change. They'd have to manifest within themselves, in the middle of all this hell that they're living in, a principled life that would reflect the life of the people who were experiencing heaven. Now, in order to escape that place, they'd have to not only feel this way, but make it known by actualizing in their hell this vision that they have for this new type of life, this new them. And as I thought about that, the information came that as soon as this happened, they would be killed and kicked off that island, because they got they're not welcome there. Then it made me think for a moment that here, maybe we are here, and if we start loving righteousness, loving goodness and peace and prosperity, that those same kinds of things would happen to us. We'd be killed because we are not welcome, and hell does not welcome us. Hell wants to change us, and if it doesn't change us, we got to go because we're messing with the game. Well, that's a thought. I'm not saying that actually happened. That's just a thought. But in my world's view, in my beautiful, beautiful world's view, I never saw slavery existing. I never saw people being exploited. I never saw people getting over on one another for the purpose that they would say, I got more, or I'm better than. We were all great because we were one. Wow, that was fantastic. That was my world's view. And then I looked at the world as I grew, and I decided that, hey, if I'm living outcast, if I'm living on some deserted island and I become one who wants to change, how would I do it? And I looked in my own environment, my own society here in the United States of America. And I felt that I am an outcast. Because this vision I'm telling you about, I didn't see anybody else talking about it. Not in church, not in the streets, not in schools, not anywhere. And as I did more research, I found out that we had been lied to from the beginning. I mean, we just had been lied to, but the lies that we had been received then were nothing like the lies that we are receiving now. I heard that Satan was a great deceiver. And I could find that there was no greater deception that I could be identified with than this right here today. I thought about the Jews, the story of the Jews and the Holocaust. I know for sure that when this process was being implemented in Germany and this plan was being made to eradicate the Israeli people, should I say the Jewish people, from that society, there were people who were going around warning the Jew, telling them what was happening, telling them what was going on. But like the people in America and the rest of the world, they were blind to it. They could not believe that this would happen. And they really had no real relationship with God. So they closed their eyes and ignored it. And the only time they were able to open their eyes up is when they were being marched into those concentration camps. When they were being put into these chambers of fire and burned and cooked and gassed. The only time they believed it. But then it was too late. It was too late. They had bought into the game. And that's what I see happening here in the United States of America. We have been told that there is a message, that there is a process to implement a new world order. Not mine, but that of someone else. And that these who are pursuing this are no different than those who were doing the dirty work in Germany. In fact, their work is much dirtier. Because this has happened several times before, they have begun to change their language because that old language is kind of understood. So they had to come up with new language to deceive people, to make them think that these things were not happening. Well, ladies and gentlemen, tell you with the secrecy, all of our major leaders in a secret society, secret organizations who get together and plan things for the world that they don't want the world to know. You know, when you hide secrets, that's because you are ashamed for what you are doing. And if the people really knew and discovered what you were doing, they would have nothing to do with you. And yet, this is what's happening. People have been told over and over again about what's going on that they don't see. And they call them theorists, conspiracy theorists. And time has passed, and all those conspiracy theorists, what they have said is coming true. And now those who are part of this lying, cheating, devilish act, they're not ashamed of it anymore. They come out and tell you, yeah, we want a new world order, and we got to eradicate billions of people from the earth. We don't need them. And people still don't believe it. Well, anyway, ladies and gentlemen, here's where I am. I don't have too much time here. I got another minute. Here's where I am. I'm convinced. And I know people who are not convinced are at odds with me and at odds with others who are convinced. And there's nothing we can do to cause them to believe. All we have to do is continue to believe, but more than just believe, act on our belief. And do it real good. Do it to the max. Go out there and look for those people who are hurting and tell them and stand up for them against this big enemy and get killed. You're going to be hated. You're going to be hated especially by those in your household. You're going to be hated by your spouse. You're going to be hated by your children. You're going to be hated by your family if they don't see it. If they don't see the light, they're going to hate you. But that's okay. Let them hate you. Let them go and support those who kill you. That might be exactly what is required to wake them up. But if it doesn't, so be it. So be it. The world that I have envisioned seems like I gotta be killed and go to it, because it's not happening here in the United States. The biggest devil on the face of the earth. They took Jesus on the mountain and said, I'll give you this world if you obey me. And Jesus said, no. You told America, I'll give you this world, make you the most powerful nation on earth if you obey me. America says yes. And all of us people are screwed. Bye-bye.